My name is Imani Blackwell, and I'm an organizational development consultant that works with nonprofits and small businesses. I specialize in helping leaders like you avoid burnout, which, if you're feeling burnt out now, I'm with you. We're going to get through this. By building systems and organizational culture that really helps your organization to thrive. I've offered teams across the country support with strategic planning, facilitation, and conflict transformation. And additionally, I'm one of the founders of Hive Mind Community Investment Cooperative, which is a local real estate development co-op. So I have worked to build these organizational infrastructure from the ground up and an effective team. Today, I'm here to talk to you all about workplace conflict and culture. So we're going to start, and I'm going to tell you we're going to stand up. So go ahead and prepare yourself mentally to move your chair, get going. So we're going to do a little stand-up, sit-down activity. I'm going to read a list of prompts. If it applies to you, you're going to stand up. If it doesn't, remain seated. And in between each, we'll all sit back down to reset. So prepare yourself. I'm going to read the prompt now. You're about to possibly stand up. Okay. So stand up if you've ever experienced conflict in your workplace. This was the throwaway question. Exactly. That should be everyone. You can sit back down. Now stand up if you've experienced tension in your workplace, but you didn't know how to address it. All right, you can sit back down. Stand up if you've ever personally attended a conflict transformation or conflict resolution training or workshop. Mediation also affiliated with this. All right, much smaller group. Thank you all. Sit down. And stand up if you've ever had a workplace conflict training with your whole team at work. Even smaller. All right, thank you. And we can all sit down. Stand up if you wish you had more support navigating workplace conflict or building a thriving workplace culture. Beautiful. All right, thank you all. You can sit back down. Thanks for playing. So I'm going to tell you about my CPR framework for building a thriving workplace culture that can anticipate rather than just react to conflict when it comes up. So the C stands for conflict transformation hard skills. That's going to be your de-escalation in the moment, being able to facilitate conversations with people that are experiencing conflict in your workplace. Also, then the ability to train other team members to build these skills as well. Now, even if you haven't received any formal conflict transformation training, there's likely a number of skills that you're already practicing in your day-to-day life. So I'm going to read a list of skills that you need to navigate conflict in a generative manner. And when you hear one that you want to practice more, feel free to write that down. So active listening, emotional intelligence, empathy, clear communication, setting boundaries, and stress management. Now, this is my favorite one because I get to share facts that I nerd about. And so did you know that our nervous system responds to all threats the same? So that means if you encounter a bear in the woods, your nervous system is going to respond that same way to that as it would to a stressful work email. So that tells me, I don't know if you're like me, I'm experiencing stressors all throughout the day, whether it's those 4-year-olds that we referenced in my bio, the workplace conflict, relationship things. There's just constantly things that you're taking in that are able to stress and activate your nervous system. So one thing you're going to notice is that when you're also feeling more stressed, you might experience more conflict. Does anyone notice that when you're stressed, you're in a little bit more conflict? I know I definitely am less thoughtful with my words, a little bit more short-tempered when I'm feeling stressed. This brings me to the next part of my framework. So the P in CPR, that's going to be your prevention. Now, this is not the key. Let me be clear. You cannot avoid conflict. We cannot prevent all conflict, and we really don't want to. If you're not experiencing any conflict, I'm going to assume you are either working in a cave or the lab somewhere by yourself without human contact. No judgment. I've been there. I'm glad we're all here outside today. Or you're working among a lot of conflict avoidant people, which doesn't give the opportunity to practice these skills among your team. And ultimately, that's not going to be good for your workplace culture either. So if none of that resonates, you might be the conflict avoidant person. I'll be honest with you, but that's okay. There's some additional skills that we can work on. I'm going to give you 3 ways to improve the outcomes of workplace conflict. So number 1, emphasize trust and community building at work. Do not divest from that important relational component of your business, whether that's with staff, customers, partners, etc. Now, this next one is easier said than done, but limiting overwork and burnout. Overworked people are not operating at their best, and they're more likely to be involved in conflict. So we're going to optimize our workflows. We're going to use some of the virtual tools that people are sharing today. We want to document our standard operating procedures, outsource to experts where we can, ask for help, take breaks when you need to. And asking for help is key, because don't worry about trying to become a master mediator after this talk. You don't need to do that. You can call me or another conflict facilitator to come and support so that you can focus on your special skills. Lastly, make sure you have clear, and this is really one of the most important, clear standard processes for giving and receiving feedback. Because all too often, the time that you're finding out about feedback or grievance is when the conflict is already there. And this is something that we can seek out more intentionally, whether it's through one-on-one meetings, through our team meetings, through project debriefs, to get some of that feedback, find out the challenges before we have a conflict among our team. So I'm gonna read some journal prompts that may be relevant to you, so feel free to write these down. What processes do you have for team members sharing feedback to one another? How are supervisors receiving feedback from those they are supervising? This is very important because it's easy to skip and only do the feedback one way, but you want to make sure that supervisors are also getting feedback from the people that are working under them. How many of us have worked under a supervisor that was not a great experience? That can definitely impact the quality of work that you do, so this is important feedback to get. And then as a solo entrepreneur, how are you receiving feedback from partners, customers, vendors, etc.? So now we'll take a couple minutes to talk through a question with someone at our tables. I put 2 minutes, so I'm anticipating you'll take 3 minutes. We'll do about 60 seconds, up to 90, no more than that. You know the time. I don't know where they are, but they'll be ready. So the question is, how do you personally like to receive feedback / be held accountable? This is not a hypothetical question. This is information that you should share with people that you work with, people in your life, to let them know. I know for me, I don't like to be caught by surprise. You might get a defensive version of me if you just start giving feedback. I'm not always ready, so it's good to say, I would like to talk about some feedback. Also, if I can have it in writing, I would like to see it. That is also helpful, just so I can review it later, maybe mentally prepare myself to go into the conversation. So that's going to be the question that we spend with a partner at our table. I'm going to start the timer. You've got about 60 to 90 seconds to chat, and I'll let you know when to switch to the other person. All right. If y'all could come back, make your way back. If you hear my voice, stop talking, please. Thank you. We're coming back. I'm so excited about how excited y'all are about receiving feedback. This is great. We're wrapping up. We're closing our conversations. Thank you. So lastly, the R in CPR stands for a response plan. So in the event that a conflict is happening in your workplace that is impacting your work, or that 2 members of your team are having trouble handling on their own and it's starting to spill into work, even if it's not necessarily work-related, then you can have some different response plans in place for some of these different likely scenarios. Psychologists Art Bell and Brett Hart define 8 common causes of conflict in the workplace. I'm going to read those slowly in case you want to write them down. So there's conflicting resources, conflicting perceptions, conflicting styles, conflicting goals, conflicting pressures, conflicting roles, different personal values, and unpredictable policies. Now you can use these conflict types to begin thinking about response plans for the types of conflict that are most common in your workplace or the most likely to occur in your context. Now, as business owners, I know it can be overwhelming to think about how many different hats we have to wear. Welcome to the mediation and conflict role of your job. A good business idea is just often not enough. You also have to know how to market it and worry about the financials and do the admin work. And the list of skills needed is long. I know most of the folks here are solo entrepreneurs, and so you might think, I don't need to worry about this. I'm just managing my business myself, and I hate to burst your bubble, but that is not true. You still have to deal with customers, ideally, hopefully, maybe potential partners, and assuming you want to scale in the future, that you're actually uniquely positioned to put this infrastructure in place now before you start bringing more people in. If none of this is relevant, you can focus on applying these skills in your personal life with your spouse, family, other relationships that can also slow down and distract from your work. And so I know it can be stressful to think about some of these other components. We're here receiving so much information from all the incredible speakers. So you may notice some stress and overwhelm. I'm going to ask you to stand up again. You might want to go ahead and start doing that, to be honest.